Welcome, everybody, to this week of the Driveway Podcast. I hope you're all buckled up for a good episode because we got one for you.
Buckled up.
You like that, Matt?
Good one. I like that.
You seem like a particularly safe podcast host today.
You know, I'm doing my best.
You're not as safe as Dave.
We're not as safe as
I'm
Dave.
the safest one. Let's just be clear. I'm clearly the safest one. I'm ready for life.
Dave is prepared for any eventuality. You never know what's going to happen on an episode of the Driveway, right?
I don't know how you guys are walking around exposed like that, but I feel I could fall down a flight of stairs, be totally fine.
You know, I hope you
Honestly,
don't have to
I'd
test
probably
that
be
helmet
smarter.
out today. For audio listeners, Dave is wearing his bike helmet, and he looks quite dashing.
I don't like how he says that we're exposed, right? Like this, there's a lot of audio listeners out there who they don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Your heads are bare. Their heads are bare.
Well, that's
Matt,
what we
you're
got.
usually wearing a hat, so this is like, oh, there's Matt's dome.
Wow.
I know.
You know what? We were wondering if anyone was going to notice. Somebody did. In the room, we have Natalie, we have Matt, and across the country in California, we have Dave.
Hey, folks.
Is anybody
Ready to
feeling like
cover
they-
safety in cars?
Yeah. Has anyone done anything particularly safe or unsafe recently? You can go either end of this. Anything come to mind of particularly
question.
one or the other?
I mean, I drove on California freeways. That's always taking one's life into one's hands.
I'll tell you what. I have a surprise unsafe situation.
okay.
I'm knocking on the door of 40. Okay. A lot of us are.
Okay.
I'm in the late 30s.
Metaphorically knocking on a door.
You got some time.
I have
Come on in. The water is warm, Elliot.
doesn't
Come on
have
in.
much time,
Been here
though,
for a
you
while.
know?
I don't have much time. I have 18 months, give or take. So I'm
you're a
nearing
baby.
40. I have two kids. I was dancing with my son to a YouTube creator, Danny Go. You know Danny Go? Dave, do you know Danny Go?
I know Danny Tiger.
Danny, different thing. You don't dance to
Different
Danny.
Danny?
Tiger.
Okay.
Anyway, we were dancing to Danny Go on YouTube, and I tore some stuff in my knee. Just out of nowhere. I didn't even know it was unsafe.
What'd you tear?
God,
My
welcome
meniscus.
yeah.
Oh, okay. It's just pain
Matt's
management.
like, just pain managements. But you know what? You didn't tear yours.
It's a sign. I hear you, though.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
We'll see. I have an appointment tomorrow. I'll keep everyone updated. So that's a surprise unsafe scenario, which goes to say you never know. You never know what can
Well, that's just
happen.
part of aging.
never
Like, as
know.
your age goes up, the difficulty or the extremity of what needs to happen to hurt you keeps going down. Whereas, like, at this point, if I sneeze the wrong way, I blow out my back. So
Okay,
it's fun.
so
And this is why he's wearing a helmet to a podcast.
That's why I'm wearing a helmet. Yeah, because I'm going to sneeze later.
I'm pretty close. I'm the next one of the crew to hit the big 4-0. So pray for me.
Are you the last one?
Am I the last one? I'm the second
we're exposing
of
everyone's
four.
face.
Excuse me?
Okay. Sorry. Let's move on.
What are you thinking, Dave?
Anyway,
This is why I wear a helmet.
We don't have to go too deep into age here. Yeah.
Natalie, you'll be 30 soon. I know.
today we're talking about safety. Everything we know about it, everything we wish we knew earlier, and some of our favorite safe cars. But before that, we have a little bit of news. We have some upcoming travel on the team. All of us are around the globe.
That's right.
And by around the globe, most of us are in California.
It's a very busy.
So it's not really globe.
Yeah, that's right. It is. I think it is almost, with one exception, exclusively it's happening in California, which is great when your entire team is based in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Natalie, you probably have the most exciting thing.
Oh, your trip is going to
coming
be cool. I'm excited to hear about it.
Lead us.
Wait,
Where
where are you going? I don't even-
What are you doing?
I am looking forward
Yeah,
to
I
that.
don't even know.
So I am going on a Volkswagen trip to Quebec.
Nice.
Yep.
Quebecois.
It's the 2027 Atlas, and what I'm really excited about is we will be ice driving. which
Oh.
Cool.
I've never done before. So
I bet you're going to have good snow tires.
And it's a prototype.
You're right. It's a prototype. So I've also never driven a camouflaged car before.
Oh, it's one of those.
So I'm really I think it's going to be
Cool.
so cool. We're going to get a lot of photos and little video clips
Yeah.
and things. Elliot can't go, unfortunately. So they'll just be little video clips, but it's going to be great.
Wait,
You're going to see a lot of it on
that's
our
so cool.
social
So-
media.
Do you know if they will show you the uncamouflaged version, not for camera? Will they be like, all right, shh?
That is a great question.
hope so.
I don't know, but
That'd be
one
cool.
thing I do
They
know,
do that sometimes.
which surprised me, is we are not allowed to take any footage or have any cameras inside the car. So
wow.
nothing's embargoed,
Yes.
but there are no devices allowed inside the car, and I have to sign an NDA when I get there.
So can you
it feels
describe
very
it, though?
secret. I'm not sure.
Like,
I'll
it's-
find
We'll
out.
find out
It
next
says
episode.
that the letters V and W are on the car.
I'm allowed to talk about how it drives, but
Okay.
not
Ooh, that's exciting.
not allowed to
that's
show
very
the inside. So
That's cool.
For
it's a
those
funny
outside
line
the
to
industry,
draw.
that is an opportunity sometimes automakers will do is they will take your phones, not allow any recording devices, but then they'll usher you into a room and be like, all right, this is what it will look like in a year or two. Famously, there was one time where Bentley had a prototype of what is now the Bentayga, their big SUV. And it does not look like it does today, like the production version. And they brought all the journalists into this room, the secluded room. They took all your phones, and then they pulled the sheet off of it. Very proud of it. And you could have heard a pin drop because it was so ugly. And all of the journalists were sitting there like jaws on the floor, like, you can't be serious. But no one wanted to be rude or mean. They're like, ta-da, what do you think? And you're like,
It's great.
The message was
and
sent.
based on
The
that
message was
reaction
sent.
and then subsequent feedback, they went back literally to the drawing board and sort of changed some design elements of it. But I'll never forget that of like, ooh. So anyway, this happens sometimes. It's
It is-
usually
it is
not that far ahead where they can change anything. Usually they're just like, here's what it is. What do you think? And you're like, oh.
That's pretty cool.
Or wow.
I've never had my phone
So have
taken
fun.
on a trip yet, so
Well,
maybe
and
someday.
I have, but
It goes a little bit without saying. Like, obviously, we get to do some pretty cool things.
It's cool.
You
It's
do
fun.
off-roading courses. You do driving on a track. You go to a frozen lake and drive on the
can't
ice.
wait.
But all of those things, if you have enough money, you can find a way to do. The prototype,
But
the
we don't
camouflage
have enough
prototype. If you have enough money, you might still
Yeah.
not get to do that. That
Yeah.
is something that is really exclusive, really, really cool.
That's cool.
Dave, you're on the road as well.
Well, I also want to point out Natalie also speaks French, so you'll be fish in water over there.
She
in
was the first
Quebec.
draft pick for this one.
to say nothing of like the food.
We'll see.
It's going to be a
man,
great trip.
Have fun.
Great
Dave,
trip.
Thank you.
Dave, what are you driving?
Yeah. I'm on like the other corner of the continent. I will be down in San Diego, which is not far from LA, driving the new Mazda CX-5. Now, moments ago, I was sort of saying, well, I think it's just like new headlights and then a nice big screen inside. No, it's a fundamentally brand new vehicle, new wheelbase, new platform. So good thing for research. 4.5 inches longer, or but to me, I'm most excited about is the large screen that Mazda is putting inside, and this is not breaking embargo. They've already showed this vehicle. That's one of the biggest flaws of Mazdas right now. I love the CX-90 and the CX-70, the CX-50, all cool cars, very stylish, moving upmarket, and then they've got this like it's like here's my toast cheese. It's like the screen is like this same dimensions, right? Like, and then like a terrible rotary knob. The UX, the interface is terrible. So Mazda, big news. This is the first car in their lineup that's getting like wholesale changes there. I'm very excited.
Yet another reason for people to watch our podcast on the YouTube channel or,
Oh, yeah.
or on
Yeah, yeah.
Spotify so that you can see all of Dave's snacks. So that one,
Yeah, I got a whole pile.
that review and video as well, those will be live on the 23rd. When this episode is going live, Elliot, you and I will have just released content on the Toyota BZ Woodland and the Toyota CHR, two new electric vehicles.
Exciting.
We've talked about them on the podcast. They are exciting. The week after, so we'll be flying to California to drive those. And then the next week, we will be flying back to California to drive the Subaru counterparts of them, which should publish a week or so after this episode. So lots of stuff going on.
And
at
what's fun,
CarGurus.
we can say this because this is coming out afterwards. There's a brand new vehicle Toyota is revealing as well.
Yeah.
And we don't know what it is yet. But by the time this goes live,
it's like an
we will.
SUV. We know it's a 3-row SUV of some kind.
Yeah.
The conjecture is
They
it's
need
either
more
a
of those.
replacement for the Highlander. It could be a new Highlander, or it could be fully electric.
And the embargo has already lifted by
On
the
that,
time
yeah.
this publishes.
That's why I said it.
So
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, people who have already seen the news. This is essentially the electric Highlander.
Okay. There
There we go.
Hey,
Bold.
Let us,
Okay.
insider
let us,
knowledge.
wait,
here.
let
Matt.
us know what you think.
Matt, real
and
quick.
Be sure to tell me if that ended up not being true, because future me will know, but present you knows today.
Yeah.
That was confusing. Matt, real quick, what is the BZ Woodlands?
What is the BZ Woodland?
For those listening and who may not know what that is.
Oh,
What is that?
Dave, I haven't gotten on the plane. I haven't done my research yet.
Matt needs
No,
6 hours of uninterrupted research time.
The BZ Woodland is
on the
essentially the like Subaru Outbackification of the Toyota BZ.
yeah.
So it takes their existing electric SUV it kind of extends it into what I'm sure
a wagon.
they're not going to call a wagon, but is a wagon.
Well, it's Subaru's. It's the Toyota version of Subaru's
Trail
what's their-
Seeker.
what are they
Yes,
called?
exactly.
Trail Seeker.
Yeah.
So it's a all electric sort of station wagon-y with some cladding, sits up high. I think that's a super cool concept, either
do
from
I.
Subaru or Toyota. Of like, you've got space, it's large enough, it's not ungainly. That wouldn't be out of place in the undercoffler driveway.
Very excited
Hey.
to
Could be.
High praise.
know how it feels, which is to say,
Watch our video.
very excited. I can't wait to know how it feels, which I will know when you are listening to this episode because I have already done it in the future.
All right.
Which is
Wow.
also the
Okay.
past.
So
We've had
someone cut him
enough-
off. Someone cut him
Is
off.
that enough news?
We've had
What
enough
else,
time
What else should we talk about?
incepting.
That
We're
didn't feel particularly safe to me.
we're done with that. That's unsafe
let's
to
go
talk
safe.
about the future that we don't know.
What if I fall asleep in my dream?
Exactly. What? We're
Oh, God.
today we're talking safety. You know this. You clicked on the thumbnail. Hopefully, well, obviously you're here. We're talking about safety. So, Matt, I'm going to you first.
Yeah.
Safety. What makes a car safe? Big question.
Well, isn't that the question?
That's the question.
Because we all want.
Just
What makes
talk-
any-
talk
what
for the
makes
next
anything
45
safe?
minutes.
You don't meet a lot of people who say, "I'm in the market for a new car. I want one that's dangerous."
Yeah. Well,
I'm
you wanna live a
I'm
little
sure, I'm sure
dangerously.
they exist, but no. So safety has kind of evolved over time, right? It used to be like, does it have
gosh.
a seatbelt? Does it have an airbag? And it's so much more beyond that now. We do have a specific safety section of all of our test drive reviews. The key there is that we are evaluating cars and their safety worthiness, crash worthiness against other vehicles in their segment. We primarily are looking at crash test ratings, which we will get into, and the availability or standard status of advanced driver assistance
Whoa.
systems.
Some people call that ADAS.
Yes, ADA. I call it ADAS. It's just one of those
You would.
acronyms that I don't think we need to say as a word. You know, we got too many of those.
Natalie,
I also
where do
call
you
it
live?
the
Say it.
NHTSA.
Oh my God, it's
Safe.
so ungainly. Hard
Driver assistance
disagree, but we'll
features.
get to you.
Okay. Okay, so ADAS. Oh,
Yeah.
first of all, what is
what?
ADAS? What is the rubric
ADAS.
for the test drive reviews? Like, what are you looking for? You said the standard availability, right?
Yes.
What comes on the base trim?
So, for instance, a lot of vehicles, like Toyota does a terrific job of this. They'll have their Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 or whatever, and that is
Ooh, that's a good one.
suite of features. It might be automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, rear cross traffic assist, blind spot warning, all of these different technologies. The best options, in our opinion, are the ones that give all of that to you no matter what you pay for the car. You buy base trim, you buy the most expensive trim. If all that stuff is standard, that's a huge check in the positive column. There are other automakers, primarily luxury automakers, that seem to be like, well, we'll give you the automatic emergency braking, but you are going to have to pay an extra 772 Deutschmarks or whatever for blind spot warning. If a BMW, not to point fingers, I don't actually know if BMW falls into this camp, but say BMW charges extra for that, a Mercedes does not. For similar models, you know, the X3 versus like the GLC, the X3 is going to get penalized there. So that's kind of how we look at the available / standard nature of those technologies, because they really are like, that's what we're expecting. Every once in a while, we'll see something like a torso, I can't remember what they call it, like thoracic or something airbag that is on a compact sedan, and that's not normally on a compact sedan. You know, that's good to see. But primarily in 2026, what we look for is the advanced driver assistance systems.
So, and how well they work as well, right?
Yes.
Like, are they responding at the right times? Are they making it really annoying to drive the vehicle? Those are things that get factored in as well.
Such a good point. Because, like, what's the point of including all that stuff if they're so annoying that the driver just wants to turn them off every time they
Which
turn the car on?
happens
For sure.
anecdotally from automakers. They see consumers do that a lot. So it's sort of incumbent on them to create a good system. Many systems are adjustable too. If you spend a moment in your driveway going through like the threshold, which it will alert you, you can dial it back. So if you find that you're backing up and the car slams on the brakes too soon, that's happened to me all the time. Nothing triggers me more. You can go in and be like, all right, you know, intervene later. And that's always important for consumers to remember.
Yeah. So the ADAS systems.
Whoa,
the
you did it.
The ADAS.
He said ADAS.
You did
Well,
it.
the thing is, I don't want to. You can't call it.
We
the
win.
System is the last word. So all of this tech, it's critically important. We'd be remiss not to mention. How does that word work? Is it? We have to also mention National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA or NHTSA, if you're
That's
one of those.
where I do have an opinion. I say NHTSA. I feel weird saying NHTSA.
So do I.
It seems strange.
What about the next one?
IIHS. Do you
Yeah.
call it?
You could.
I've never heard anybody do that.
So IIHS is the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety.
Yeah.
NHTSA is a government body, government agency. Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah.
Perfect.
You want me to tell you about it?
Well, so we have that IIHS is an independent organization that I think is
This
financed
is all in
by
my note.
insurance
What are you
companies.
doing?
And yeah,
Hey, you want the run of show?
Dave, you tell us more about those. But the critical point for the reviews is
He just wanted to say NHTSA.
I just wanted to say NHTSA. If that stuff, if they didn't get like 5 stars or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
Dave is about to tell us about, that's going to hurt them on their safety score.
Gotcha. So, Dave, CarGurus has our own rubric, but NHTSA and IIHS also have theirs. I went with NHTSA. I do want to bring IS into the mix because
Is?
it feels unfair that one gets it, one doesn't. But
Saying the letters
Because
does
it sounds
take a
like
lot
is.
longer, but
All right.
But yeah, so Dave, talk us
Let's dive
through
in.
these two organizations, what they do, why we care, and
All right, here's why we care and who they are, what they do.
Yeah.
NHTSA, as Matt said, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. It is under the Department of Transportation in the U.S. This is a federal part of the federal government. We still have a Department of Transportation, right? Last I checked. You never know. So it's run by the government. They test the vehicles. They give them. There's basically 3 crash tests that they put them through. Each of the vehicles then sort of gets a rating for those crash tests, and then they add it all up and get sort of an overall rating. It's a star rating, 1 through 5. So
5
that's
is
sort
the
of
best.
the breakdown of 5 is the best. Obviously, 1 is the worst. So that's NHTSA, and it's pronounced NHTSA. I'll die on this hill. IIHS
Is.
I'm not even gonna do that. Nope.
IIHS. It's like a sailor.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
pirate
well,
testing
trust me.
cars.
we're having a good day.
Now when you say IIHS, that's what
all
you'll
I'm
be
gonna
thinking.
think. Great.
God. People, yeah, for the 3 people left are like, oh God. IIHS, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. This is an independent organization largely funded by insurance companies. So some people think like, oh,
yeah.
maybe there's less independence there. I don't quite see the line. You know, I trust their results just as much as I would trust NHTSA. They have, rather than star ratings, there's a little more wonky. They have good is the best.
I love
acceptable, marginal, poor are the ratings that they will give. They have more crash tests that they put their vehicles through. And it's not just crash tests. They also evaluate ADAS systems, whereas NHTSA doesn't. So that's sort of a benefit or an advantage of IIHS. Then they give their vehicles a top safety pick plus or a top safety pick rating.
Award. They award
Award.
those.
Award.
Wait, so
yeah.
they rank
It's a major award.
a major award. They rank each category as good being the best, and then they give a final overall score of top safety pick or top safety pick plus. Is that what you
Yes.
said? Okay,
Essentially,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
I've
So,
earned certain ratings.
I
to
love
use
that
the
good
word.
is the best.
That's weird that-
It feels very Don Draper. To
good
me.
is not good enough.
It's like good. I said it was good. What more do
Right.
you want?
That's a good point. It is very Don Draper. I like that analogy. A couple of things to note. One thing that NHTSA tests is rollover ratings, how well or much a vehicle either performs or performs in a rollover. IIHS does not. However, IIHS does test the strength of the roof once a car is rolled over. So some people say, well, look, NHTSA's isn't great because it's really physics, right? A sedan is far less likely to roll over than an SUV. What do you do once that happens? Maybe that's why IIHS has an advantage. Another thing is the star ratings.
Yeah.
It sounds like NHTSA basically just hasn't changed the criteria for their vehicles in years. So almost everything that they test gets a 5-star. Some get a 4-star rating these days. That's not, so it's like, it's like the trophy culture. If we're all getting participation trophies, what's the point of that rating? Whereas IIHS is always moving the goalposts on purpose. Okay. Once nearly all the vehicles they test get a good in any of the criteria, any of the tests that they're doing, they change the criteria of that test to make it harder. They give automakers a heads up a few years of like, all right, in 2 years, this is what you will now need for it to be rated good. And then
you can hear him saying it, right? Good. Good was good last year. Now good is acceptable.
So that's pretty cool. Another thing, IIHS also tests seatbelt reminder systems. So those super annoying chimes when like you've got a heavy bag in the front seat, you're like, it's not a child or a human. Stop dinging. That's thanks to IIHS. And we're all parents here. IIHS tests the ease of use for latch, which is the car seat safety attachment system. So look, so what does this all mean? If your eyes have glazed over, if you're a car shopper, look for both IIHS and NHTSA. I would put more weight into IIHS and their ratings. And so if the vehicles that they give a top safety pick plus, I would say that's sort of more of a contemporary, up-to-date rating of a vehicle. Another thing I'm forgetting, headlights. So a few years ago, IIHS started testing headlights and how well they worked and how much they were illuminating and things like that. So that is also factored in to their top safety pick and plus ratings. And finally, this is cool. Matt, you were talking about this earlier. Trim levels. For a safety feature to qualify for IIHS, it has to be available on all trims.
Really? Okay.
So an automaker can come out with the fanciest headlights in the world, the safest headlights in the world, but if it's only on the top trim of a model, it doesn't factor into the safety ratings of that vehicle. And that happens a lot in headlights. Usually it's an optional or it's an upcharge. It has to be on every trim of a vehicle for it to qualify.
It's like listening to the encyclopedia. You ask him one question.
He just knows so much.
He gives you it's a fascinating interview.
Sponsored by Toast Cheese.
One of my questions was, so which one do we trust more? But you answered it. So
they're both trustworthy. I feel like IIHS gives you more useful modern information, right? Like based on sort of today's criteria. So I would use both because they both sort of complement one another, but I would look for IIHS first.
So with the crash test ratings, should we, what is a good crash test rating? Like if I see 4 stars, is that not good?
That's still like a passing grade, right?
It sounds though let's see. With NHTSA, it's like if it's not 5 stars, like that's not good.
There's some classes though where rollover resistance, for example, is just not as good because of the center of gravity and things on the vehicles, and so like the 4 stars or 5 stars there is compared in context. And who does a good job explaining this, I always think, is Chris Wardlaw in his reviews for us.
Oh,
what a pro.
Where can people find those reviews?
On our website in the research section. If you're thinking about a particular car, you can look it up there. All of our reviewers do a great job. I just find that Chris tends to be very thorough about, so why didn't this get a top safety plus pick this year? Well, here's why. And it's always very informative.
On the topic of sitting in the driveway in your car and adjusting the system, that Chris must spend just hours. 6 hours just sitting in the car making sure everything works.
He's a pro.
Yeah, he's really
also
good.
Another thing to note, these agencies don't test every brand of vehicle. Kind of like previous episode, we were talking about Consumer Reports and their reliability rankings. They don't rank some vehicles because they're low volume. It's almost the same list of vehicles. The lower volume brands, Porsche, Land Rover, Jaguar, are not tested because they sell in much smaller numbers. These agencies only have so much time and money. So it's also like no one's buying a Porsche and it better be safe. But if that worries you or you want to know, these vehicles are tested. First of all, every vehicle in the U.S. has to meet basic federal safety standards. But also these vehicles are tested in Europe. There's the Euro NCAP, it's called. So you can look up crash ratings there if you really need to know how a Porsche will hit a wall. But no one's ever crashed a Porsche, so you're fine.
It hasn't happened.
Never happened.
When I first started driving, as we've talked about before, my first car was a Chevy Blazer. All I ever heard was, don't take a turn too tight, you're going to roll over. Rollover seemed like a big deal 20, 25 years ago. I don't hear anything about rollover anymore. I guess cars are getting safer. Is that are people not rolling over their
you have
cars?
these electronic stability systems, are standard and everything. They're required now. sort of minimizing that. I mean, you still can if you really are
if you try
driving
really
like an
hard.
idiot.
Right?
But the cars are inherently like every car is inherently like exponentially more safe than they were. It's like, have you ever talked to your parents, anyone on this call, about what cars were like when they were kids? There were no seatbelts. There were metal dashboards. No one was buckled in. There were kids running all over the inside of the car. It's amazing anyone survived the 50s or 60s in a car. Yeah. So like things are quite safe today relative to the way they used to be.
Well, speaking on systems that are new and didn't exist before, let's go deeper into ADAS.
Oh gosh, we're going deeper.
We're going deeper because there are different types, and Natalie is going to talk to us about like the active versus passive, which is which.
So active safety features are your interventional ones generally. Yeah. So these are technologies, your suite of driver assistance features that will do things like, for example, lane departure warning, lane keeping assist, blind spot monitoring. These are all interventional technologies that are actually either changing what you're doing. They might actually prevent you from merging, or they're at least alerting you that there's something in your blind spot. Whereas passive safety features, these tend to be the things that we kind of take for granted and just expect to see now, like seat belts, crumple zone. These sorts of things are airbags. They're in your vehicle. They're there. They're sort of your like worst case scenario. If the worst happens, these are the things that are going to be activating on your behalf. An active safety feature is already active, and it's trying to prevent you from getting into an accident in the first place.
Got it. So passive safety, I'm sure it's more nuanced than this, but passive
we don't
safety
want to go
is
too
kind of like,
nuanced.
this is what protects you if you have a crash. Active safety, this is what helps prevent the crash.
In general, I think that's a pretty fair line to draw. There are some active technologies, though, like, for example, you get in a crash and then the car can unlock the doors to make you more accessible to emergency workers. I would call that active, but it happens after the crash. So generally, when we talk about advanced driver assistance features, we're talking about these active interventional technologies. We're also talking, though, and this is one of the ones that gets nickel and dimed a lot with luxury automakers, things like adaptive cruise control.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
That this is not standard on every car. Like, you can buy a $23,000 Sentra that has this standard.
It's true. It's true.
He says,
and you can buy a BMW without it.
Fact checks this.
You can absolutely buy a BMW without it. And that's one that when I'm writing a review for us, I do tend to bundle into the safety section, but I don't think of it quite so much as a safety feature as like a really nice to have driver convenience feature. More of a
The line is a little blurry here and there.
Yeah. Because it's still
blurry.
driver assistance.
Yeah. It's also worth noting, we tend to use standardized language for this stuff. So it's adaptive cruise control, it's automatic emergency braking. Automakers, they call them whatever the marketing team told them to write. So like I did just look up the Nissan Sentra to make sure that I had made a mistake there. And I was wrong. They don't have adaptive cruise control as standard. They have intelligent cruise control as standard,
There you go.
which for anyone
like
listening is the same thing.
I feel better.
It's like these
intelligent.
automakers. It's like, you can lock 100 monkeys into a room with 100 typewriters, and maybe you come out with Shakespeare. You're going to come out with 100 different names for all these systems. It's absurd. It's like vehicle colors. Have you guys ever looked at the names they're calling black or orange?
Oh,
or
you mean
red?
void?
The void.
You're like, where are you people coming up with these names? Yeah, good point, Matt.
Yeah.
But they do the same thing. They're just trying to
good
come up with
names,
their
though.
marketing names.
None are coming to mind right now, but
I just love that shade of crystal snow metallic. It's just beautiful.
is that a white?
It's a white.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. The luxury automakers are the worst because they'll be like
gloss.
or like beluga caviar midnight.
Beluga caviar. Wow.
Opaque.
Yeah. Okay, so
it's kind of a
that's a real-
dark gray.
we've
You
talked
obviously
a lot.
don't eat a lot of caviar, Elliot. You would know it's very dark.
Caviar. It's a rare treat. It's not an everyday treat.
It's when the automaker has caviar on the buffet.
Press drive.
It happens. Okay, so we've talked a lot about these systems. How does it affect the everyday person? Does any of us have I don't want this to be a bummer, but like any experiences where one of these safety systems either averted a problem or helped you during a problem? Like, did you get into an accident where maybe you could have avoided, or a close call that a system helped you.
I know that the automatic emergency braking on my Honda Accord
It's doing heavy work.
it goes off 7 or 8 times a week, and every single time I say, "What are you doing? It's fine."
Yeah.
But deep down, I think
Was it fine?
was it fine? Was it fine? So like that's one of the tricky things. I always leave them all on because they might annoy me from time to time, but there's that
a
feeling
couple
deep
times,
down
yeah.
where I'm like, is it annoying or am I a little embarrassed?
Yeah.
Is this arrogant behavior or sheepish behavior?
Yeah. I'm the same way. I mean, before these systems, I've never been in an accident, but I do get those alerts. I'm not going to say 7 or 8 times a week, but I get them fairly often.
What do you mean before these systems? You'd never been in an accident?
Like before I had Subaru's eyesight.
Is that true?
I think so.
I seem to recall loaning you a car.
That was not.
Oh, no.
Why did I
Oh, God.
loan you that car, Elliot?
That was not my fault.
It was not your fault.
That was not my fault.
And you know what? There was not like intersection awareness, cross traffic braking on the car you were driving.
Defensive driving is the best policy, and I was not being defensive, but I wasn't in the wrong.
You were not.
You weren't covering the brake, as I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a Ford.
I have
Focus.
found
Okay.
a couple different things.
These systems, right?
I don't think so. Not to the level that my Subaru does.
If you're a listener and you're trying to make sense of there's a million different systems and which ones one might prioritize. Anecdotally, this is just my experience. I like pre-collision braking. As long as it is set to the right setting, right? So some drivers, if you do have it in your car, sit in your driveway, like I said, and make sure it's going to come on when you want it. Because usually it's like early, normal, or late. If it's early, it can get really disruptive. Well, I like to usually find late is
early, medium, late, too late.
I actually usually put it on later just because I think of myself probably have an inflated sense of my driving skills.
It's just kind of a
early
funny misnomer.
Early can be disruptive. Like early can be one of those experiences where it's really frustrating because it goes on. You're like, what were you doing? But play around with it. I do find that's a good one. And then blind spot, not lane centering, but blind spot monitoring. Just when you have the lights in the mirrors, right? To just say, hey, there's something in your blind spot. Look, it's LA. We're on freeways a lot. And cars today, the blind spots are getting bigger. So then the usefulness of these blind spot monitoring systems is great. It's just, you don't even, you just have the little light, tells you that somebody's there, even if, the massive truck you're driving is blocking that out. I found those to be pretty helpful.
Yeah, I'll double click on blind spot monitoring. The thing that it's a kind of delightful feature. I don't know if it's fully safety, but when we're in a press car and it's only on the top trims, usually when you're pulling into a spot and the front camera turns on and you maybe didn't even know you had a front camera.
Yeah,
I love that. That's a surprise and delight feature.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, cameras in general, I feel like they always make things easier.
Yeah.
I'm rarely annoyed to see a camera unless it's like in Kias and maybe Hyundais as well. The camera stays on too long
and comes on too early.
So you put it in reverse, you back out, and then you start going forward, and you don't know where you're going because you're in some different city or whatever, and you can't see the map.
I need my map.
That annoys me. But otherwise, cameras are always good.
But the flip side to that,
like the blind spot cameras, when you can see what's in your blind spot, like on the dashboard.
When you put on the turn signal and it comes up, I like
Hyundai
that
and
too.
Kia, for the big digital dashboards for listeners, they will display the camera in the dashboard in front of you. So if you put your left blinker on, it will then activate the camera on the left side of your car, show you what's going on there.
Yeah.
You get pretty dependent on it. It's a nice feature.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think Ford now as well. I'm looking it up now, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was trying to think there's another. It used to just be Kia and Hyundai that we would say, but there is another one.
I think it was
Chevy. I was just in a Chevy,
Okay.
and you could turn it on in the Chevy Silverado EV, except it displayed on the infotainment system. Don't put it there, because Matt, to your point of like, if I have a map, I'm trying to navigate someplace. Don't cover up the map. Never cover up the map. Put it on the instrument panel in front of me. So I turned that feature off in the Silverado because it was not productive.
I have a few favorites.
You have some favorites.
I think my favorite, and it is pretty annoying, but the frequency with which I encounter it makes me like really recognize how nice it is to have is rear cross traffic alert.
It's a good one.
Just I feel like
Parking lots,
backing
backing
into
out.
in a parking lot, backing into a busy street, it it knows, man. It's got those like wide
How does it know?
wide angle cameras or LiDAR or whatever it's using. It'll tell you when something's coming, and it's so easy to have missed that.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely one of my favorites. Adaptive cruise control is another one that personally I would never buy a car that didn't have it, but I'm convinced that everyone in Massachusetts doesn't use it.
Yeah, I don't use it. I don't use
There you
cruise
go.
control at all. I mean, I test it, but
Why is that?
I mean, I like to be able to vary my speed depending on who's around and.
But adaptive
Who else
cruise
I've
control, you can set it for 76 miles an hour.
There's always that
And the-
lag, though.
I have no comment.
You know.
Oh,
Hey.
she's not going to say
little
on
Leadfoot here.
the air how fast she's driving.
All right, so that's perfect to take us into the next section. We're talking about adaptive cruise control. That's it's verging into autonomous driving, which is maybe the future of safety. Dave, you're on deck to talk a little bit about autonomous driving, the different levels, who's doing it well, who's maybe not so doing it well.
So
And we have
three
extensive
main
notes available.
Extensive notes.
three main systems right now. And this is a moving target. So maybe you're listening to this episode 6 months from now, 12 months from now. What I say may actually be outdated. So don't skewer me, because this is a technology that's sort of always advancing and emerging. And
How could you overlook
new
this?
automakers are going to come into the fore pretty soon. But right now, key players: GM Super Cruise, Ford's Blue Cruise, and then Tesla's Autopilot.
Oh, autopilot. So you can just set it and fall asleep, right?
Yeah, talk about couple. I don't know how big a rabbit hole we want to go down. Autopilot, I think some countries, they haven't allowed them to use that name because it is so misleading. So there's that. A couple of big differences. Tesla's Autopilot uses cameras only. Other systems will use radar and cameras. The future will be LiDAR, which is a more sophisticated, uses light rather than radar. And so that will
None
enable...
of us know what the RA stands for.
Radio?
Yeah.
But right now, so that's a key difference. Tesla and Elon claim that the camera systems are enough. If you talk to other automakers, they say absolutely not. That is not enough redundancy to be controlling an entire automaker or entire car driving itself. You need radar and usually LiDAR once the costs come down to give that car a sense of everything that's going around it and allow it to make smart decisions. So a little bit of a philosophical difference there. It's also a cost thing, right? Cameras are cheaper. So an automaker relying only on cameras is looking at like higher margins on the system, whereas an automaker willing to put all of the technology into it. So be that as it may. Super Cruise only works on freeways or highways that the automaker, that GM has mapped. It says right now they have about 400,000 miles of roads in the U.S. that they have mapped.
It's a lot of miles.
A lot of miles. Ford's Blue Cruise is 130,000 miles of pre-map zones. And then
nice.
Tesla will work literally anywhere, which it may sound cool if you're driving in the car, but keep in mind, as someone I'm a cyclist, I also have little kids out on the road. Not a busy road, but like through our neighborhood and stuff. I'm also driving with my little kids in the back seat. I don't love the idea of some knucklehead in a Tesla misusing the autopilot system and then crashing into me and affecting my family, right? Like there's always you may feel safe in your own vehicle, but please consider that you are on the road with thousands of other people, that your car may keep you safe, but if you crash into somebody else, that person's life is affected. So I don't love the idea of sort of this unregulated technology. People are allowed to use it everywhere because it has downsides. So anyway, that's a little editorializing.
Hey, that's what we're here for.
But
I love it.
Yeah. I personally, so Ford's Blue Cruise has a higher overall rating from Consumer Reports. That's something people always like to hear. Everyone, trusts Consumer Reports. Personally, I could be wrong. It could be in the minority. I like Super Cruise. I think it is more obvious when the system is engaged. It hands the control of the vehicle back to you with more warning. Anecdotally, I've been driving Ford's Blue Cruise and I've had it sort of just instantly turn off and you're like, okay, wasn't ready for that. What was the reason? Whereas Super Cruise seems to either it gives you more of a heads up or it disengages less frequently. So out here in California, I do prefer Super Cruise. Both automakers are doing a good job putting it into more vehicles. It used to be a thing only on Cadillacs. Right now, GM is now, I think they make it offer it on almost any vehicle.
You could get it on the Bolt before the Bolt was
Yeah,
discontinued.
yeah.
The Bolt EUV was like $27,000 or $30,000 or whatever after the credits, and it came with Super Cruise. It was astounding.
Is Super Cruise the one that on the wheel has the green, like
Yeah.
very thin?
Yes.
Is that on all of them? Because I love that.
It's on all Super Cruise.
Yeah, well,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
feature of Super Cruise.
Nice.
So the steering wheel has lights built into
Yeah,
it.
that's very
It's
cool.
green when the system is engaged. Or no, it's blue when the system is engaged. It's green when the system is eligible.
Available,
And
yeah.
or available. And it's red when it's sort of communicating a warning to you. So yeah, that's the kind of the quick and dirty. Like I said, other automakers are coming online with more sophisticated systems. Rivian has said that they will be getting into a more sophisticated system that requires less attention from the driver. And they notably, once they get into this higher level of autonomy, will assume the liability if that system is in a crash when it's being used properly. Now, that's a key thing. Because right now, all these automakers are developing next-gen hands-free driving systems. But what no one knows, the law in the U.S. has no precedent for this. If a car is in a crash and that system is engaged, who's liable? The driver? The automaker? The company that makes that safety system or the chips in that safety system? But Rivian has taken a step forward and said, we got you. As long as you're using it properly, if the crash happens, we assume the liability for that crash. So
pretty big.
I
hopefully
wonder
other
how that's going to
automakers
work
sort
for
of-
Rivian.
It's more than I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm in a crash, not taking responsibility for that. No way. We've driven some safe cars.
We've driven some safe cars. We've talked a lot about the systems. Where does it all kind of come together in numbers and ratings? So Matt, you talked a lot about the test drive reviews and the safety scores. We have a list of all of the most safe cars that exist in our database of reviewed cars. And we're going to talk about a couple of the standouts. We're going to talk about one in the car/hybrid category, one in the crossover category, and one in the truck category.
Yeah.
What
So
are the
the-
safest ones in each of those?
the Hyundai Sonata,
We
which
like
we tested the gas model, but there is a Sonata hybrid. 10 out of 10 for safety.
Tens.
Hyundai does an incredible job of packaging so many of those safety systems in as standard. Highway driving assist, I believe, is not standard, but
Yeah, and line, but not the
right.
model
but,
overall.
but
Yep.
for a full comprehensive suite, these cars give you a whole lot of tech. They do incredibly well in crash testing. And if you wanted a pure hybrid, the Toyota Prius is on there as well. That also got a 10 out of 10. Toyota's another one that was really pretty pioneering in making all of that tech standard. I remember... Well, I said I remember, but now I can't remember
No,
what
you don't remember.
Honestly, it might have been the Prius where it introduced Toyota Safety Sense. But that suite of standard features, that predated a lot of the competition.
Okay.
It was also, for context, in response to the unintended acceleration crisis at Toyota. So there was a little heat that they were a little late in rolling those systems out.
Forgot about that.
So that wasn't in a vacuum. They're like, oh yeah, we're safe.
One thing
Sometimes
about the
bad things happen to make good things happen.
Dieselgate.
Natalie.
The Sonata,
Sorry, go ahead, Natalie.
one reason that it got a 10 was that it the IIHS specifically upgraded it to a top safety pick plus rating this
the
year.
plus.
It improved
Plus.
its performance in the updated moderate overlap frontal impact collision test.
Wow.
And this is all explained in our written review by Chris Wardlaw. So check that out if you want to
His
know more.
reputation precedes him.
I love it.
Crossover. I forget who on this episode mentioned the CX-90, but the CX-70 we're calling out specifically as a number 10. I'm sure that the 90 would have similar
So
scores.
I kind of want to get Dave's read on this because
Talk to me.
by crash testing, the CX-70, and frankly, every Mazda. I think the
Yeah.
only one that doesn't get crash tested is the Miata. But every Mazda other than the Miata
bother.
is a top safety pick plus award winner.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Across the lineup. This
Wow.
company does an incredible job at producing structurally safe cars that are filled with the good tech.
Do you think the lack of touchscreen plays into that at all?
Well,
Oh, that's where you're going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so-
I didn't mean to take your punchline.
I'm particularly excited about the new Mazda CX-5 because it uses a traditional infotainment interface. The CX-70 does not. I think if you're worried about a safe vehicle, the CX-70, we gave it a 10 out of 10 because from a strictly safety standpoint, it's got all the tech, it's got all the accolades. It is a safe vehicle, but you have to get in that car and test the tech. Because Dave, I know you've
Some
also
love,
been
some hate.
you've also been frustrated by their interface as well. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, like what you can have the safest car in the world, but if your eyes are off the road because you're trying to find a damn radio station in the stupid UX, and you're fiddling with all the
thought about it. He
controls,
paused before he said it.
He was like, should I?
He
Should
was like,
I?
I really mean it.
I'm going for it.
It's a family. I know. Sorry,
family
gosh
podcast.
darn. I mean, it's a good point of like, look, yeah, the vehicles can be very safe, but if the environment or the situation is made less safe because you're fiddling with the controls, I mean, that is on the driver. The automaker really can't. Well, I guess they could do something, but we're all supposed to be more responsible. But yeah, it's a good point of like, what good is all the safety in the world if our eyes are off the road trying to, fiddle with the systems?
For sure.
You're not wrong.
So from our evaluation, we call the Hyundai Sonata the safest car of the last year that we've tested. The safest crossover SUV is the Mazda CX-70. The safest pickup
And sorry.
truck. Yeah.
Sorry, I hate to cut you off real quick. Elliot, you asked, is the CX-90 also have the same crash ratings? It does, according to IIHS. They're both top safety pick plus. So CX-70 and CX-90. Sorry,
And I should say they're very different because the CX-90 has to worry about a third row. So that could definitely impact things, but it seems like get it? But it seems like it didn't. So they are different vehicles, especially when safety is concerned. But Matt, you were on a tear.
I was on it. I just want people to know,
Trucks.
There's a lot of truck buyers out there. The safest truck, we're putting that on the Ford F-150. This received a 9 out of 10 in safety, as did the Toyota Tundra in our test drive reviews from the past year. Those are better than every other truck that we tested. I give the Ford an edge because of Blue Cruise.
Okay.
Toyota just doesn't have a technology that can match that.
That's fair. Another thing on trucks. Usually most heavy-duty trucks over a certain weight are not even crash tested at all, which is becoming more relevant because more and more buyers are trading in their normal F-150 for a 250, 350, and larger. So those aren't even tested. They're huge enough, you'll probably go right through whatever you hit. You'll be fine. The minivan you crash into might not be.
There's always a bigger truck. There's always a bigger truck.
Yeah, it's tough because a lot of people think, oh, all the cars on the road are big. I need to get a big car to be safe. And then everybody gets a big car, and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and cars are heavier and heavier and heavier. And it's a self-perpetuating circle. So, but hey, the Ford F-150, it's a safe one.
It is a safe truck. It's a safe truck. And the Sonata's a safe car, and the Mazda CX-70 is a safe crossover. There are a lot of safe options.
But the safest thing you can do for yourself is be a defensive driver.
That's right.
Right?
That's
Thanks,
right.
Thanks, Dad.
Eyes up. Eyes up. Keep your head on a swivel.
That is our bit on safety.
Stop texting. I see you. We're all in the same traffic.
We can all see. We can all see.
That's true. It is shocking how often I look over and the person next to me is not looking at me. They're
Of all the safety features we talked about today, what is the one that you wouldn't buy a car without?
Airbags.
Sure.
Seatbelt.
You can't buy
that's required. You can't not have an airbag.
Brakes.
You know what? I almost bought a car without anti-lock brakes not too long ago. Well, it was 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was when I was younger.
Still,
it was not.
I mean, my
Before they're
4Runner doesn't have
knocking on
any.
the door.
Right. It was a Mercury Cougar. I remember it was. It didn't have anti-lock brakes, and we decided not to, and got a Ford Focus instead. And that started my journey into the Foci.
Let me tell you, pal.
Pathway.
Good choice. The Mercury Cougar.
Oh, it was good. It was good. It was a V6.
I love the Cougar.
That's one of those vehicles you look at it and you say,
wait, are we talking about the real weird looking one?
He's talking about.
It looked perfect.
He's talking about the one from like 2001, which was.
Yeah.
Which looked cool, but was a terrible car.
All right, the answer, Matt. What's your unmissable?
Although I also don't use it around Boston very often, it is probably adaptive cruise control because I value cars most for their ability to take me on an adventure.
Okay.
And to get on that adventure, I usually have to do like 6 hours on the highway, and I'll I'll lose it if I have to do that all with my gas on or my foot on the gas.
Fair.
Natalie.
Rear cross traffic alert.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think
one.
Matt made some good points about
Someone's
it.
a parent.
Yeah, well, and someone lives in the city and is often backing out of a driveway or in a parking lot. And it's not just that it knows; it's also that it doesn't have to go like this, and then that takes time.
No, that's a good one.
That's a system I really appreciate.
You know what else is good as a parent? Rear seat reminder. In case
that's
you
right.
forget your kids back
Really?
there.
I always laugh when that goes off.
No, I'm kidding. I've never
My kids
I've
are
never
so
needed it.
loud.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm forgetting them.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Your child's there.
I'm putting it on
always
purpose.
goes off for me because I'll like put my bag in the back
Yeah.
and then I'm like, I know. I wasn't going to leave it in there. I don't want it to get stolen.
Well, hey, these things
I
wouldn't
was
exist.
going to leave my bag in the back. So like I don't use rear seat reminder for my child. I use it for whatever I put in the back seat.
These systems wouldn't exist unless somebody needed them at one point. Dave,
that's true.
what
Oh,
is your
God.
unmissable safety feature?
So I really like adaptive cruise control, like Matt said. I see that almost more as a convenience feature. I know earlier we were talking about some are marketed as convenience versus safety.
This is a really good point.
So I would certainly appreciate that. Natalie's is great. I didn't even think about rear cross traffic braking or alerts.
I
That's a
mentioned
huge
it
one.
earlier
I
in the
think I
episode.
still go. I think I still go pre-collision braking.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just because you never know, and I think the second you look down to change that radio station or what have you, the car is there. Or even if you are about to brake, you see the incident, it may beat you to the punch, right? Like every millisecond counts, and so make sure you've got it tuned right in the right setting, so it's not going to go off prematurely, and then you're going to get mad. But to me, that's a system that I appreciate.
Yeah.
What about you, Elliot?
All good answers. My answer is blind spot monitoring.
Blind spot.
I think that's the one
Yeah,
that
that's a
is
good
like
one too. Yeah.
the number of times it's come in handy is probably outweighs everything else.
If you ask me what's the
Because
one
who
that I
wants
wish,
to turn and look?
what's the one I wish everyone else had?
Yeah.
Blind spot monitoring.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah.
On that note, one I wish everyone else had, I'd probably put this more as a convenience feature for the driver, but a
can I guess?
safety feature for the other drivers.
Can I guess what it is?
Yes, and I don't think a lot of people listening know it exists.
Is it
So-
lead vehicles moving away?
No,
in
but
Hyundais?
I love that.
I love that as well.
I love
I do
that.
wish everyone
Yes.
had that too.
So lead vehicle is
Because-
it's when the car in front of you starts going at the green light, it gives you a little note that says, "Hey, hey, pal, hey,
Other
stop."
people are
And you
moving
guys are in
you're
Boston.
not.
No,
You guys are in Boston. I'm in LA. You know that if you don't hit accelerate, the millisecond that light turns green, the guy behind you is on the horn like a maniac. Yeah.
It is one of the
Anyway, go
things
ahead,
I
Matt.
actually love about Boston drivers. It's like
The honk and the honk back.
we don't. There's no like 5-second grace period.
No.
We're very efficient drivers. No, the one that I've really grown to love is automatic high beams. This is something I think a
Oh.
lot
I don't
of
use it very often,
A lot
but
of
yeah.
people don't even know it exists. I was on a trip with some friends and we rented, I think it was a Ford Explorer, and it had auto high beams. And Bobby, the guy driving, discovered these. He was watching someone learn about something for the first time, and he was so excited to get home to New Jersey, where he lives, outside of New York City, to use these on his. He had I can't remember. He had a XC90 for a while, and he has a Telluride now. I can't remember which car it was, but it had high beams. And then he
And he didn't
realized
even
that
know.
there's no time to use them in a city.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where like we've all been driving and somebody has their high beams on, and if they had auto high beams, those would not be on.
Yeah.
And similarly,
It's good
like
courtesy.
it's a great convenience. Where like if you are driving along that dark Vermont country road,
The car says, "Hey, it can be brighter."
yeah, it says,
That's
hey, dude,
one
you
of those
want-
ones
you wanna
that
see a little better.
I wish, I like Natalie articulated. I wish other drivers had it. I actually don't like it in my car because it either reflects off road signs and then
Yes.
turns the high beams off,
Same.
or you can't disengage it easily. You're like, no, and then it's hard to like sort of
That's
go
a
back
big
and
part.
forth between auto high beams and not.
Turning it on.
Other
and
cars
off.
should have it.
Because at least in my car has them, but I have to turn on my high beams to turn it on or off. So like if auto high beams is on and it's bothering me, and I'm driving in the city and the high beams aren't actually on.
Yeah.
In order to turn the auto high beams off, I have to turn the high beams on to get them to turn off.
Yeah,
which
it's
means
just-
that I
yeah.
just flashed my high beams at someone
You're
unnecessarily.
like, "Sorry, no, it's not for you."
So never mind. Maybe I take it back. Auto high beams, though, people, They exist.
I wish
They're
other
a
people
thing.
had them. I
Check,
just
You
don't
should
want
all
them
use
on my
them.
car.
to see if they're on your car. Use them
boy.
if you can.
Well, that's fantastic. Guys, this was a great episode. I think we all learned something. I hope the listeners learned something.
It felt more informational than
This
a
is
typical episode.
we taught some things. We explored. We
Professor
explained.
Haney over here.
I did the least explaining, but thank you. Next week, though, we're gonna have a fun episode. We're gonna play a game. We're gonna build our dream value garage. It's gonna be fun. Might get a little crazy. So come back next week for it. Are you guys pumped for it?
Bye, folks.
Yeah. I kind of forgot that it was next week. Can't wait.
Well, we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. Have a great week and be safe.